Hello, hello, ladies. I am in the right place. I am in the Online Empress Academy. Yes. Who's here? Who is here? All right. Who? I don't know. I don't see anybody here. So, well, reviewer, if you're watching the replay, hello. If you're here live, hello. Say hi so I know that you're here. What is going on? How is everybody? Yeah. All right, let me get my notes up. So we got a lot to cover today. Christine Lucan. All right, we're good there. Hold on one second. Oops. Am I still here? Okay. I thought I closed out the screen by mistake. Thank God I did not. All right. Gwen. Hello, hello. Melissa Rhonda. All right, ladies. So we have a lot to talk about today. Well, I have a lot to talk about today. So I'm just going to go ahead and dive right in because I have a lot to share. And then I also feel like there's going to be a lot of questions. So I want to try to, keep it at an hour. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that today just because there's so much to go through. And yeah, this is going to be exciting. So the first thing that came to me as I thought about like what I'm going to teach here in today's class was yesterday, a lot of you guys were asking me like, okay, this is great. How do I build my list? How do I make myself more desirable, right? To people so that they want to collaborate with me, so that they want to feature me on their stuff, so that they want to, ask me to be in their telesummits and things like that. So first thing I want to do is be very clear that when you are pitching yourself either to a podcast or a blog post or something like that, 10 times out of 10 that I've experienced, the size of your list doesn't matter. What they're really looking for is your expertise, is the value that you can bring to their audience. So don't let having a small list, if you have a small list, don't let that stop you from going on with pitching yourself to podcasts and publications and guest blogs and things like that. Because I've never once, and I've been featured on, a couple hundred places by now, never once been asked, for a podcast or a blog, what size my list was. All they wanted to know is, am I credible enough to give value to their audience? And that was pretty much it. Christine says, I just sold 4 financial planners into, ooh, yes, Christine, I love it. Jen Blanchard, Elisa. All right, guys. So anyway, I just wanted to say that because I want to make sure that that doesn't stop you as you're also building your list alongside. Okay. So for me, the list building is always going to happen. Like it should always be concurrent with everything else that you're doing because we gotta grow. I mean, I at one point had a list of, God, I was just reading an old article and I at one point had a list of 26,000 and now it's so small now because changing platforms and deleting people who weren't opening emails and things like that. So it's shrunk significantly. So I'm always growing my list so that I always have, a nice base list of people who are active, who are engaged, who are opening up the emails. So the list building thing is going to be something that you're going to do always and forever. And the other thing that, kind of came to mind was, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Like, do I start building the list first and then start doing my content and then start being visible? Or do I start being visible right now to no one or to just a few people or a small amount of people? And like I always say, I'd rather you be visible now and get used to it and get comfortable and get confident when not that many people are looking. So even if you're, you have some traction or you're doing pretty well, like it's so much better to get all of this stuff out of the way and just do it and get comfortable and confident when there's only a couple hundred people watching, right? Versus a few thousand, versus tens of thousands, versus, hundreds of thousands of people. So always just start, show up. I remember when I first started, my main thing was like, I'm just going to send a newsletter every Wednesday at 10 a.m. So I was very structured back then. And it was just like, that was my commitment. Even though I only had 30 people on my list, I was like, I'm just going to get into this habit of sending an email every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. And it just created this habit that it was just like, that was just what I did, right? Like it wasn't even a question of whether I was going to do it or not. It was like, that's just what I did, right? I don't know. Oh, Cam is having a hard time with video. I don't know. I think you were having a hard time with your video yesterday too, right? Maybe it's something with your app, perhaps. So today what I want to talk about is one of the things that has just exponentially grown my lists. You know, this is going to be from the organic point of view of what you personally are doing, right? So last few days we kind of talked about leveraging other people's audiences and platforms to grow our own. This is like, how are we going to grow our people? How are we going to grow our tribe? How are we going to get people to follow us in herds, in, you know, more than just one person at a time? Although one person at a time, you know, we have to be grateful for every one person. But what I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is like, how do we get a lot of people to raise their hand and say yes to something? How do we get a lot of people to, you know, potentially want to buy our product or be a part of our email list or be a part of whatever it is? So today is all about creating an experience for your audience or some type of experiential event. And what I mean by that is a challenge, a 3-part video series, which we talked about yesterday, a masterclass or a webinar. Those would be like my top 3, right? So some sort of event where you're positioned as the leader, you're positioned as the expert, and, you know, people are going to say yes to this so that they can learn something from you. But it's different than just a free training. It's different than just a free opt-in or a PDF or something like that, because you're actually going to be engaging with your audience when it comes to these types of things. My favorite one is the challenge, because it's more back and forth engagement, whereas a masterclass or a webinar, it's more like you speaking, they're listening, right? Even though there may be some Q&A and things like that. 3-part video series is going to be even less interaction, but it's still a really good event to do if you're leaning towards that, if you're excited about doing that. So the idea, like I said, is to just create an event, like an extravaganza, like something where they can get really excited that they want to be a part of it, which is why for me the challenges work, because it's multiple people, right? So it's not just like, hey, it's just me and just you. It's like, hey, it's me and other people who are, you know, like-minded, who want to do the same thing I do, who have a goal like I do, and we're all kind of in it together. So this is why I love it so much, because the other part of this is like people actually get to see that they get to see your style. Like they get to see how you coach. They get to see your personality more. They get to see, you know, learn from you and say like, do I like this person's, you know, teaching style? Do I feel like I can learn from this person? Are they giving me good information? So there's just so many things, right, when it comes to having this type of event that is a positive for people when they come and engage with you for the first time. A lot of times, you know, they're going to do it over and over and over again. Like I have the same people, you know, not only the same people, but I have the same people who have been in my challenges for 6 years. It's crazy. But the idea here is that we want to just create a connection with our audience. So we want to do something that excites them. We want to do something that is going to solve a problem for them. We want to do something that is engaging, where we're able to have like a back and forth conversation. And this is what allows people to really fall in love with you and then do the next step, which is like, hey, I want to buy something from you now, right? So I suggest, and I've always talked about this, if you have never, ever done an event like this before, like you've never done a masterclass, never did a webinar, never did, you know, a challenge or a 3-part video series, my high suggestion is for the very first time that you ever do it, just do it with the intention of growing your audience and growing your list. Because if you do it with the intention to launch, right, which this is not a launch program, but typically that's what people do, right? So they release a 3-part video series, or they release a challenge, and then they sell something off the back end. If you have never done anything like this before, I highly suggest that you do not sell something on the back end, that you just use this as a list building tool for your audience, because it's probably going to flop because there just isn't enough like built up there. Plus you're kind of just practicing and you're just starting. So, going into the pitch is going to feel a little bit weird for brand new people, and also for you the first time doing something like a masterclass or a challenge. So let me just see if there's any comments here. My perception is a challenge is always right before a launch. No. So that's what I just said. It is because that's what you see. But my suggestion is, if you've never done one before, to just do it as a list builder first. You want to make sure that the challenge is actually something that is going to lead them to the product or service. And I'll talk about how you can do that in a second. But really, it's just such a good list builder. It's such a good list builder to say, I'm hosting a masterclass, I'm hosting a webinar. Here's the link to sign up. I have this 3-part video series. Here's the link to sign up. I'm hosting a challenge in 2 weeks. Here's a link to sign up. So the number one goal is going to be list building, audience building. And then once you're comfortable with it, once you've done it at least once, then I would say then you can attach it to the back of your launch, or to the front end of your launch, and then sell at the end of it. So what we want to do here, because there's some big problems. How many of you have run a challenge, and how many of you want to run a challenge? So you can just type in I have or I want to. And I'm going to actually just stick to challenge, but know that everything that I'm saying about the challenge can also be applied to a masterclass or a webinar or a 3-part video series. But it's just going to be easier for me to just stick to the challenge, knowing that this is like the event. Okay, so I'm not going to dive into that right now, Andrea. We can do that in the 10X lab. Let me see. Kate says, would you suggest doing a challenge that is related to your core offer? So I'm going to talk about that in a second. So either type in I have or I want to, just so I get an idea of how many, or where everybody's at here. So Andrea wants to, Jennifer has, Nessie wants to, Christine has. So those of you who have, also, if you can let me know, like, good results? Yes? No? Kate says, I have. Back in my network marketing days, I really want to with my business coaching. I think it's great for business coaching. Elisa wants to. Okay, so we're kind of like half and half. Like, some of you have done it, and some of you want to. And I think that we should all want to. For me, this is like the best marketing strategy that there is out there. Really, it is, on all fronts, on all ends, from like being able to grow your list, to have people fall in love with you, to kind of give people a taste of what you're doing, to give massive value to your audience. So I definitely recommend that you're doing them. Sometimes, now here's the thing, you want to make sure that you're actually going to get a result from your challenge. And so a lot of time, like, I see people who are like totally crush it with their challenges, and then I see people who do the whole challenge and then it's like nobody bought, right? So I'm going to give you guys some tips, and this is, like I said, this is going to apply for both the challenge, the 3-part video series, or the masterclass or webinar. It's going to be the same kind of idea when you're thinking of what kind of challenge do I want to do? What kind of thing do I want people to say yes to? Melissa says, from my experience, the free challenge people don't buy shit, but that doesn't mean I don't sell. It's just that the people who buy aren't the right ones who participate. So that's probably evidence of what you've done, but it's not the truth. That's the evidence that you've seen in your challenges, Melissa, but it's not the truth. Because challenges have been, really the springboard of my entire business and all of my sales, pretty much. I don't do webinars. I just started doing master classes and things like that, but I'm not, I don't do webinars. I've only ever did one 3-part video series, and I only sold a couple on the back end of that. But challenges have been where I can take someone from literally brand new to buying my product, right? And I'm going to tell you how. Jen says, I've always had good results with getting participation and getting people results, but it hasn't been the best for making sales. Okay, so everything that I'm teaching you guys today is going to help with that, okay? This is what I want to solve for you in today's training. So it's good that you're doing the challenges, that you're getting the results, that you're building your list. So that, first, be grateful for that, because that is the number one thing for me. It's like, I'm at least building my audience. And if these people don't buy right now, or they don't buy during this training or buy during this challenge, they're going to buy at some point, right? So we want to keep that in mind, and have gratitude that people even said yes to the thing in the first place. Cami says, I have on Facebook with good engagement. I'd like to grow my IG, but do one there doesn't really work. Yeah, it's a little bit of a different platform because it's really not a two-way platform. Facebook is the best platform because it's both ways. People can comment, people can talk. You can do a live stream where people are, saying things and you're answering their questions. Really, really hard to do on Instagram. Actually, when I first started, I did a couple on Instagram. And I can't remember what the results were because it was literally 7 years ago, but it's way tougher because there isn't that back and forth engagement. Christine says, yes, I have a spending detox challenge. Ooh, I like that one. I do a 6-day challenge for women. That's been successful. Melissa says, yes, I get that. Kate says, you've been awesome with running challenges. Cami says, that is the mindset that may be true, yet in my experience, a few of the people will fall in love with you who weren't intending to buy, and then they will buy. Yes, exactly. And like I said, even if they don't buy right now, they'll stick around, right? And then when you have another offer, another thing, they will buy that, right? Jen says, probably depends on the audience. For some audiences, challenges may work better for others. I would say for the majority of people in here, a challenge will work for you. There's not many things where I feel like a challenge can't work for you if you don't set it, as long as you haven't set it up correctly. Okay, so this is how I come up with the challenge that is going to make perfect sense for somebody to say yes to. So a couple caveats, right? We love to give. We're givers. We are coaches. We are light workers. We want to help people. We want to give people value. And the biggest problem I see is that during the challenge, you give so much value and so much that the person is like, oh my gosh, I'm either A, totally down with this. I'm going to take this and run with it, and I don't need your program. B, I'm so overwhelmed with all of the content that I just got. I need to go implement this first, and then maybe I'll come back and buy from you, right? So those are the two scenarios where people are going to be like, I don't need what you have, right? I got everything that I needed. And of course, there's always going to be a certain percentage of people who will just take the challenge, get what they need, and run with it, because they're just super driven or ambitious or whatever. But the majority is people just feel like I got everything that I needed and I don't need any more, or I'm so overwhelmed and I want to implement this first before I go on. So the way I always think about this, your event, your experience that you're creating, it's going to be step 0. Okay, so it's not step 1. It's not giving them everything that you're going to give them in your paid thing. It's literally step 0. So when you think about the step 0, what do they need to know or master before they can say yes to your offer? What do they need to know or master in order to say yes to your offer? So I'm going to give you guys a couple examples, okay? These are just some really, really good examples of things that have worked for me and I've seen other people do. So actually one of my favorite examples is there was this woman, she was a sales coach, and she did a discovery call challenge. I can't remember if it was join my challenge to get 100 discovery calls booked or something along those lines. So of course everybody's like, oh my God, hell yes, I want that, right? People jumped in on the challenge. She gave them the, what to do to get the discovery calls. But she knew that even if they had all the discovery calls in the world, if they didn't know how to convert, if they didn't know how to have a sales conversation, they wouldn't be able to convert any of those discovery calls. So the step 0 was okay, you have these discovery calls, right? This could actually even work flip-flop. But you have these discovery calls now. Do you know how to close them? No, because every discovery call I'm on just ends in a no. So she's able to go in and say, well, I have this system or I have this process for sales calls, right? And it's in my XYZ program. So it's we want to solve a problem, but at the same time, we want to create another one. The reason why we want to solve a small problem for them is so that they can start to see us as synonymous with results. Oh my gosh, that was so amazing. I actually got something out of this, right? Where they didn't feel like you were holding back. But it's here's another problem. now that you've solved this, now that you know this, now that you have this, here's another problem. And your program, your product, your service is a solution to that problem. Does that make sense for you guys? So you want to think of the step 0. What do they need to know or have or master before they can say yes to your program? So I'm trying to think of, for you, Melissa, like, I don't know what your other challenges were, but I know that you do like a lot with sugar, right? So for me, it would be like I remember, actually, I'll be very vulnerable with you, Melissa, about I almost bought one of your sugar programs and I didn't. And I didn't because I wasn't ready. I literally was like, oh my God, I would love to do this 10-day sugar thing and, you know, quit sugar forever. Like, I wanted it. I wanted the dream. I wanted the aspiration. But the way it was pitched was like, we're starting tomorrow and you're quitting. And I was like, ooh, I don't think I can do that. I can't do that. I can't do it. Like, there's no way I can start tomorrow and just completely quit, right? So the challenge or the webinar, whatever the thing is in front, would be like, here's the mindset that you need in order to quit sugar, right? Or here's the mindset to believe that you can do it, right? Or here's the first steps to detoxing your body from sugar, right? And then once that first hurdle is stepped over and it's like, oh, I can do this. I can do this. And now I want the solution. Does that make sense for you guys? So always think about that. Does that make sense what I just said to you, Melissa, about like, it was scary for me. It was scary for me to say yes to that because I wasn't ready. I wasn't mentally prepared. I didn't feel like I had what it took to jump on, start tomorrow and quit sugar in 10 days. So what I needed from you was a solution of, how do I get ready for that? Right? How do I get to a place where I'm ready to say yes to your offer? So this is what I want you guys thinking about when you're creating your thing, because this is how you get somebody mentally ready and prepared to say yes, right? Because a lot of times people also think like that they just can't do it, right? Or they don't trust themselves. A lot of times when people say no, it's not because of you. It's because they don't trust themselves to follow through, to be able to do it. So this is why, you know, the experience that you create is so important to get that person ready so that they feel confident, right? But at the same time, you've presented a brand new problem that can easily be solved by your program. Yay, right? Let's see, Melissa says, it does, but maybe you aren't ready. You know what fears came up? It was just that I wasn't mentally ready, right? And so I guess that's what a lot of people think before they say yes to something, right? Jen says, Kate says, I love this and it's brilliant advice. I'm not sure what step 0 would be if I am helping work at home moms create their signature program. Here's what I would do. So is that the only thing that you're helping them with, Kate? Is it just creating their signature program? Because like the immediate idea that came up for me, for you, was how to get more time in their day. Like giving them an hour back of their day, or giving them 5 hours of time every week, right? Because work at home mom or a stay at home mom might feel like, I would love to be able to start my own business, but I just don't have the time. When am I going to be able to do this, right? How am I going to be able to do this? So for me, like that would be like a first step. Like, let's get you some time back in your week so that you can maximize what I'm about to show you, right? Now, if it's about creating their signature program, it could be something like assessing their skills, or really like discovering what their niche might be, or, you know, creating confidence around their gifts and the things that they already have, like what are their assets, something like that. So really getting people just like primed and ready into a space where it's like, oh, I have the time, I have the space, I know that I'm really good at this thing, I'm ready to create my signature program and like go all the way with it, right? Kate says, yes, I was typing that about helping them schedule time to work on their own business. So that one, yeah, because I would assume that a lot of the objection that you're going to get, Kate, is like, I would love to do this, but when? My kids are up my ass. My kids wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I barely have 5 minutes to myself. How am I going to start my own business? So think about like, and for me, it's typically the mental barriers that we have to overcome. Because a lot of times if we do start with a strategy, and I'll give you guys some examples of when I did some strategy as well and it worked really well, but I honestly feel like the best ones are going to be where you help them overcome the objections, right? You help them overcome the mental barriers of them saying yes or no to your offer. Because then it's just like, oh, well, you know. So some of the other ones that worked really good for me was a visibility challenge. So I did a visibility challenge, and side note, challenges should not be more than 5 days long. And actually people are losing their interest now. So I would say 3 to 5 days. 7 days too long, 10 days too long, 30 days too long, 21 days too long. You're going to lose their interest. You want to keep them engaged and interested the entire time. So yeah, if you're like, I have a, idea for a 14-day challenge, that's great if you want to use it as a list builder, but it's probably not going to convert, because by the time you get to your 14-day, like 95% of people are going to be dropped off, right? So I did a visibility challenge where I gave some tips, like different things that they could do, like guest posting and things like that. But then my program was about, now, how do you take this visibility and get clients from it? How do you turn your visibility into cash, right? So that was one that worked really good for me. I'm trying to think of what other ones. I actually did one for my 5-figure funnels that was a little bit different. Like, I actually walked people through how to create their entire welcome sequence in a challenge. And then I was like, oh, but that's just one funnel that you need in your business. There's 7 others. Do you know what they are? Do you know how to use them? Do you know how to create them? Do you know how to make them work for you in your business? So solve a problem, get them excited, but then present another problem. Kate says, no, I help them assess their skills, discover their niche, create a signature offer that no one else has, launching it, marketing it, and scaling it. Maybe something to help people get organized around their finances. Yes, so that's like a really good one too. Like maybe if you're doing like weight loss or something like that, it would be like, a detox or a like clean up your kitchen cabinets type of thing. Like let's go grocery shopping. Like let's get you ready for that next step, right? So let me see, what else do I want to say about this? It's got to be enticing though too, right? So it's got to be something that they're like, oh my God, yes, I want to learn that. I want to do that. I'm excited. Like I want to join this. I want to learn this. And this is how you create that experience, right? And then once you're in it, whether you're doing the masterclass or the challenge or the video series, the live stream series, you got to bring it. You got to bring it. Like you got to bring it like as if they were your paying client. Because that is where they're going to feel your passion, your desire. That is where they're going to feel like, oh my gosh, I can really trust this person. I can learn from this person. If I got all of this from one masterclass or I got all of this from one challenge, I can only imagine what it's like to actually work with that person. Now, I want you guys to also remember too that there always is going to be a certain amount of people who just aren't going to do it. Like, so we have to keep that in mind as well. It's like there is a big percentage of the people who aren't going to move on to the next thing, but to ensure that you're having better results and better conversions is to actually do the things that I said. Start with that step 0. What do they need to know or overcome or master or, mindset wise, like what position do they need to be in order for them to say yes to your offer? So you could also kind of work backwards on this, maybe depending on your niche, is like, what would be the objections? What objections would they have? Why do they say no? Is it time? Is it money? Is it whatever? I'm just not ready. I don't know if I can trust myself. So what are the objections? And then you can kind of work from there to help them solve that objection within your event. That way, it's going to be an easier yes for them. It's going to be an easier conversion for them. But also, just being able to connect with your people in that way and really nurture the relationship from the jump, that's what's going to guarantee that you have conversions. Maybe not now. Maybe they will be now. Maybe some will be now. Maybe a lot will be now. Maybe a lot will be later. But the way that you show up for this event, whether it's the masterclass or the challenge, is like, people are like, yes, I want that. And I know that sometimes this is really difficult too, because we want to kind of draw a line, right? Of like, what do I actually teach in the challenge that I'm not teaching in the program? And that's why the step 0, if you have that mentality, makes so much more sense, because you can give them everything in step 0, right? Without giving away what's in your program. You can give them everything. Another way that you can do it too is I had a program called Captivate, and I did a Captivate video series, and it's actually that when I did that was 7 days, because there were 7 steps to my process. And basically what I did was every day I kind of like scratched the surface of the, like, whatever the step was. So step 1 was like, you know, mindset. Step 2 was like profits. Step 3 was building your audience. I went through the entire like framework process, but I didn't give it all away. I just gave a little bit. I found that that one didn't convert as much because people got a little bit of what they needed, and then they went off and did it, right? So I find that that doesn't work as well. I've seen people do that a lot too, but this is where the sweet spot is going to be, is what's the step 0? What's the first thing that I need to do in order to be able to say yes to what you're doing? Keep it simple. Keep it really, really simple. Keep it easy for them to say yes to. Your excitement, not only when they're in the challenge, but your excitement previous to the challenge, your excitement promoting it and talking about it and marketing it, is also going to make people want to join, right? Another kind of just like side note tip here is I like to also include some sort of viral sharing. So always on the thank you page of my challenge, I have, you know, this is more fun with friends. Use this link to share, you know, share the challenge with your friends. So just having something very simple like that too, so that way, you know, you're hitting this, like you're getting your people to sign up for this thing, but now other people are sharing it as well. And we're actually talking about viral giveaways and contests tomorrow. So we'll get into more of like that viral sharing kind of giveaway thing tomorrow. But that's it. Actually took me a lot quicker to get through what I wanted to say. So what I want to know from you guys, are the wheels turning? Do you guys have ideas of what you think your step 0 could be, what your challenge could be? And also, do you find that, you know, oh, this is probably why my challenge didn't convert before, because I either gave too much or I didn't give the right thing, or, you know, we give people this false sense of like, Superwoman, like, I'm amazing, I'm gonna go and take this and I'm gonna run with it and I'm gonna whatever, and you're like, but damn, I wanted you to buy my thing, right? So yeah, let me know. I don't see the comments come through, so I'm gonna just look to see if I'm missing anything here. Where? I don't even see the thing on here. What the heck? That is so weird. Let's see what's happening here. Okay, let me try to see these comments because they're not coming up on my thing here. And oh, I see Andrea's comment. Absolutely, my brain is on high speed. So yeah, so I mean, that's really it. It's about creating an experience. Now, how do you get people in it? Right? How do you get people in it? So there's going to be 3 ways, right? And the 3 ways are either going to be organic, social media, right? So you're going to use and leverage what you already have, your list, your social media, your Instagrams, leverage the social sharing. So asking people to share it, invite their friends, things like that. If you're lucky, I have not been able to do this more than like once or twice. But if you're lucky, you can actually time your podcast interviews and your, your blog posts to coincide with when you're going to do a challenge. This is tricky because some people, like, you might get interviewed for a podcast and they're like, oh, it's going live in 6 weeks, or it's going live in 2 months, or it's going live tomorrow, right? So this is a little bit trickier, but every now and then you might get lucky. So if you know, like, hey, I'm going to be, featured, or I'm going to have an upcoming challenge and I'm going to get featured in this thing and it's going to go live at the same time, you can promote it on those channels as well. Or the third way would be Facebook ads. So we're actually going to be talking about the best way to use Facebook ads with your ecosystem and your web on the final day. So we won't get into like questions about ads right now, but those are the 3 ways. So you're either going to go organic, social, paid, or if you're lucky, you can do like your collaborations and try to figure out and make it work so that your collaboration coincides with when you're going to do your event. I also just like to ask people to share. You know, that doesn't hurt. One of my clients, she was like brand new, like didn't have an audience yet, didn't have anything. And she was doing a challenge, and she just went to like one of her old colleagues and was like, hey, I'm doing this challenge. You know, do you mind sharing it? And he shared it, and she got like 50 new people in her challenge like that, just because somebody shared it. So don't be afraid to ask, right? What comes up for me is that I'm trying to convince someone who isn't ready to change. So your challenge, I think, Melissa, can be like, you know, are you ready for change, right? Like getting them to that point where, like, because are they really not ready to change, or do they think that they're just not ready to change, right? I just feel like especially when it comes to like health coaching and stuff like that, like being on the other end as somebody who, you know, could potentially be an ideal client for that, like, it is about like, it's so much about that readiness, right? It's so much about that readiness. So how do you, in your content, in your experiences, in the things that you're putting out there, give someone the power, right, for them to believe that they are ready, right? I hope that makes sense. Jen says, I'm about to launch a course on confidence, feeling worthy, good enough, deserving to put yourself, your gifts, your creative work out into the world. What would step 0 be for that? This is where I always get stuck. So your course is on confidence, feeling worthy, good enough, deserving to put your gifts or your creative work out into the world. So tell me a little bit more about it. Tell me a little bit more about what they're getting. Elisa says, maybe I missed this. Did you say to create a page on our website? Always. You're always going to have a landing page for everything, Elisa. Whether you're doing a masterclass, a chat, anything, because we want to build our list. Other than, you know, like, we got to build our list. So there's always going to be a landing page for everything. Valerie says, yes, had a good challenge, but would shorten it from 5 to 3 days. Yeah, I feel like the 3-day ones are like working really well right now. Andrea says, I'm feeling like I could create a challenge about their mindset when it comes to change. Yes, because a lot of people are resistant to change, right? So help them overcome that hurdle. Help them overcome that thing so that they're fully ready to receive the change that you're giving. Prizes and challenge. Okay, so here's the thing, guys. Like, I actually have some, it's totally escaping me, trainings. I have some additional trainings that I will post in the group on challenges. And I do have one training that's like how to use a giveaway in a challenge. So I don't want to get like too overwhelmed in this particular training, but I will post that in the group, Kate. Kimmy says, do you do a wait list if your challenge is currently closed? Not usually. No. I usually just have it, you know, I don't have a wait list for a challenge. Because the idea with a challenge is like it's right now, it's happening, it's real life, it's live, it's like everybody's in it, right? Like, I wouldn't sign up for a challenge like, oh, the challenge is gonna be in 3 months. Why would I even sign up for it, you know? So no, I don't do wait lists for challenge. Do you have an email drop for the pre-recorded challenge? Okay, so there's so many different ways to do challenges. You can do them where it's just you going live, right? Like, I've seen that with people. It's you going live every day for 5 days. I've seen it, you know, most of mine have been where I'm just creating content, like a written post, and then maybe going on live to do a Q&A. Some of them I've never done any live stream at all. Like, they're just getting the email. So as far as like how you run the challenge, it doesn't really matter. I would just say, what do I enjoy doing? Do I want to go live every day? Do I want to just send a written post? Do I want to send them to a landing page that has the day's challenge in it, you know, with like a pre-recorded video? So there's just so many different ways that you can do it. Again, just think about what we talked about in like day 1, which is, what are your strengths? What do you enjoy doing, right? Do you like going live? Do you want to do a pre-recorded video? Do you like just writing? and then create your challenge around that as far as format. If you're going to do pre-recorded videos, highly suggest they're very short. Don't make them long, because people aren't going to go through. It's different when somebody's watching a live stream because there's the interaction there. But when you're sending somebody to a video, it's so much different. It's just a completely different energy. So if you're going to do pre-recorded videos, make them short, like 3 minutes, 5 minutes max. Don't do 26 minutes, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, because people will not go through it. And that's another point I want to make with you guys as well. It's like, if you make it too difficult and people don't go through it, or they can't finish it, then you did it wrong. Because the whole point is we want them to go through the whole thing, get a result, right? So don't make it too long. Don't make it too complicated. Keep it super simple, but still get them the result. Are you really ready to change your diet challenge? I would say, like, change your life. Change your life. I feel like that is more powerful, and people know that you do weight loss, so, you know, I feel like you don't need to say diet per se, but life would be more enticing to me, you know, or lifestyle. Jen says, I'm going to help them create the confidence, inner mindset stuff to put their writing art into the world to be seen. So yours could be similar to what I was saying to Kate of like, do they know that that's their gift? Or do they have to develop the gift? Or do they, like, maybe they're not confident in their gift at all? Like, I would be thinking about what would be the, again, what would be the objective? Oh, I want to create confidence, but I don't even know if I have a gift. You know, like, I don't even know if this is good enough, right? So maybe something along those lines. Cami says, can I do a personal responsibility challenge? Meaning if they don't like their life, here's how to take responsibility for it and make changes. Yes, but I would word it differently. I would word it differently because remember I was saying in the last couple of days, like, we want to speak to the aspiration, not to the desperation. We don't want to make people wrong. We don't want to make people feel wrong. We don't want to make people feel bad. We don't want to make people feel like shit in the first interaction that we have with them, right? So, you know, it's like you don't want to be like, you need to take responsibility for your life. Join my challenge. Like, no thanks. I ain't about it, you know? So I like the context of it. I like the idea of it, but I would change the languaging so that people are actually like, I actually want to join this. Like, I'm excited to join this. You know, I want to. You'd have to make it feel sexy. So just flip it. So what's the aspiration, right? Once somebody takes personal responsibility, what happens in their life? What happens to their confidence? What happens to their relationships? What happens, you know, in their business? Jen says, this is for writers and creatives specifically who make art or who write stuff all the time. They just never put it out because they don't have the confidence to believe in themselves. Or this is the step 0. My course should be something else. That's what I'm kind of thinking, Jen. Like, I'm kind of feeling like that's why I'm trying to get it out of you, because I'm like, it doesn't feel like big enough for me to like wrap my arms around it and say, I want to pay for this. Right. So it could be like a confidence building challenge. Right. And then you could go into more of the deeper stuff in your program where it's like the mindset and the how and all of that kind of stuff. I think a lot of times too that like sometimes people's free stuff should be paid. I mean, sometimes people's paid stuff should be free. Like, I think about this with like some opt-ins and tripwires and things like that. A lot of times I'm like, this should be free. Like, this should have been free. It's not that good. You know, not that it's not that good, but it's like, imagine if you gave your best and your all, and that was the first interaction that somebody had with you, a brand new audience. They're going to fall in love with you. They're going to want to buy from you. Like I said, even if it's not now, it's going to be later. Now imagine if you gave somebody something really shitty because you want them to buy something, so you hold back and you don't give them really everything, or you just kind of give them a little bit. They're not going to trust you enough to want to give you money, right? So we really have to make this good. Trying to transition into life coaching, I'm having a hard time figuring out what to sell versus what to do for free. Well, with life coaching, Jen, life coaching is a transformation, right? So you can't, I feel like with stuff like life coaching, like you can't really give away too much because they still need you for the transformation, right? So I would just really think about like, what is your niche in life coaching, right? Why don't you do it like a feel-good challenge, since that's your thing? Christine's got some good ideas here. How about take charge of your challenge? Yeah, so I would just be thinking about your, like the ultimate thing. Like maybe you even sell them into one-on-one at the end of the challenge instead of trying to sell them into a course. That could be one. Confidence boosting challenge into sell the shit you made course. Exactly. Yeah, because that's going to be the objection. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a writer, but I'm just so scared to get my stuff out there. I don't even know what to do. I don't even know what the first step would be. Right? So what is the objection? Kind of work backwards if you're having trouble trying to figure out like your offer, your solution, right? Work backwards from that. Your life coaching niche is feeling good. Yes. So I wonder if it could be something around like habits or consistency, something like that just like popped into my head for you, Jen, around that. Who else is on here? Anybody else have ideas they want to throw out? Andrea, I think you had one. Who else? What are you guys thinking? Does this make sense to you? Why? Like it has to be a certain way for your challenge so that we can get people to say yes to the thing, right? Same thing with a masterclass or a webinar. We want to let people know like a bigger picture, right? Give them a little bit of a result or a small result, but still nonetheless a result, but create another problem. Create another problem. I think that's probably what you're missing, Jen, is your create another problem. I almost closed you guys out again. All right, give me more. What else do you guys got? Andrea loves it. Melissa says it does. Elisa says, Jen, what about blocks to feeling good? Christine says, it's so much easier for me to come up with great names for products for other people. Yeah, that we do that all the time. We do that all the time. It is like, yeah, it's always, it is. It's always so easy to see other people's blind spots than it is to see our own. It's just life. Change your life feels too broad for me. Change your life feels too broad for me. I think just by itself, it does feel too broad, but in the context of what you do, it doesn't. Does that make sense? But if you don't like it, don't do it, right? Nessie wants to do a secure the bag challenge. I don't know what it is, but it sounds nice. Like secure like the luxury bag, the handbag. That's what I'm guessing. Kate says, a lot of the women I'm talking to have no idea what they could do for a business. So yeah, there you go then, Kate. There you go. There's your step 0, right? Because how could somebody say yes to a business building program if they have no idea what their business could even be, right? What are the other results, Melissa, when people work with you, right? Like obviously weight loss is just one result. What else? What else do people get when they're working with you? What about all my other programs? Well, you're going to do a different, like if you're going to use this as a launch pad, you'll have a different challenge. Like I've done so many different challenges depending on what I'm offering, or so many different master classes depending on what I'm offering. So like I did the master class to promote Exposed was like, hey, I'm going to give you like the front end social media stuff, even though I know that that's only going to get you this far, right? And in the program, you're going to get everything. You're going to literally know like the back of your hand, like how to get mega visibility and exposure for your business. So each one, like I've always done multiple challenges. So don't think that you guys just have to do one and stick with it. I would have one for each of your programs. And then that way, within the context of your program and in the context of what you're selling, that's where the challenge is going to come in. I think that was the question you had, Melissa. If not, let me know. I have a block around selling one-on-one from a challenge because the challenge feels great because of the group interaction. So I would get people on the phone. I would get people on the phone. So I wouldn't be, like, at the end of the challenge, I wouldn't be selling, like, hey, join my one-on-one. I'd be like, hey, I'm so excited. And for those of you that participated in the challenge, I'm doing these XYZ breakthrough sessions or clarity sessions or whatever sessions. That's how I would do it. So I wouldn't, like, on the back end, just be like one-on-one coaching. I would pitch a phone call. Christine says, I need a catchy name for the challenge around clearing your money, energy, and organizing finances. I think that's an obstacle to people opting in for financial coaching. Clearing your money. So those feels like two different things to me. Maybe I'm wrong, Christine, but it feels like two different things to me. Clearing your money energy and organizing finances feel like those are two separate things. Like they could be two separate challenges. Okay, well, next week is sugar rehab. Not every program removes sugar. One is weight loss, one is detox, one is the fast track intensive. Gotcha. So do you want to have one challenge that could lead possibly into all of them? Or do you want to do one separate for each one? I love that, Melissa. I feel like there's so much potential there for, this is totally off topic, but there's so much potential there for like for you to stack these programs, right? Like what's the first thing, right? The fast track, then I need to detox, then I need to remove the sugar, and then weight loss. Like do you feel like there's a progression there? It feels like it to me, but I don't know. You're the expert. I'm clearly not the expert on weight and health over here. So, yeah, Christine, I feel like those are two different things. I would be a little confused unless they both had a similar result. Let's see. All right. All right, just waiting on you guys for your comments. When people are disorganized, messy around their money, that's the challenge I want to do. Ooh, well, I don't know if you can use that name, but if you can, the magic art of tidying up your finances. Nope, because I, like you, believe everyone needs something different. Okay, so they don't all go together. Okay. So yeah, so then I would just create my challenges, or my event, right? Could just be a masterclass based on the thing that I'm about to sell. I would like to focus on a challenge for sugar rehab 10-day detox. Have you done one before for that? And what was it? Yeah, I don't know if you could use that, Christine, but that's really, if you could use that name, that's awesome. I love that. So much to process. Cami says, I think if you get them to a place of feeling less overwhelmed, they will move forward. Clear the money stuff challenge. You can teach organization, energy, and ability in a 3-day challenge. Yes. All right, guys. What do you guys have? You guys have additional questions? And remember, I am going to put, I'm going to post a couple of resources in here to kind of maximize the challenge. I'm not going to put everything in here because I do have an entire program called the Challenge Code where I go into the nitty gritty, but I will drop a couple more resources in here for that. How often do a challenge monthly? No. I think monthly is too often. It's too often. The amount of time and energy it takes to really do a good job with a challenge as far as sure that you have a lot of people in it, which I would recommend probably 2 weeks minimum, depending on where you're starting. If you're starting at if you already have an audience and a list, that can build a lot quicker. But if you're literally starting from scratch, 2 to 3 weeks of your promotion of the challenge to make sure that you've got, I would aim first time at least 100 people and then go up and up from there. But yeah, by the time you promote the challenge, host the challenge, do your launch, do your like after challenge stuff, it's going to be a month. So monthly, I used to do mine quarterly, like once every 3 months. Jen says, Melissa, for something like that, a step 0 could be a pantry and fridge clean out or a stock your pantry challenge. Kate says, 5-day guess your gift challenge. Discover your unique gifts and how to turn them into an impactful and ooh, yeah. I don't know if I'm sold on the guess part, but everything else I love. Chrissy says, great idea. I've got a Zoom call with another financial planner, so hopefully I'll sell him into my foundations course. You're crushing it. Christine's crushing it. I think 3 or 4 times a year is plenty for challenges. Otherwise, you end up hating challenges. Well, not only that, but then people get so used to you doing challenges. It's like, it's not anymore. It's like, oh, she's just doing another challenge. Oh, I'll just catch the one next month, right? So, yeah, I like the quarterly. But there's the other events that you guys can do too. You can do the 3-part video series. You can do the masterclass. Webinar. Those are things that they don't take as much, so you could do those monthly. Like I definitely could, I've been doing like a masterclass monthly, for my launches. So those are other things. It's just the length of the challenge and the amount of effort and energy that it takes to not only build it up but then host it. It's a lot. It's a lot. All right. Anything else? Other questions, other ideas you guys want to throw out? If you're watching the replay and or if you're watching live and you come up with something after our call, post it in the group. We'll be all happy to give you some feedback and help you get clarity on what your challenge could be. Yeah, I mean, I got tired of them. I did them for 5 years straight, and then I was just like, I don't want to do them anymore. So yeah, totally get it. It's as with anything, right? But I still feel like hands down, it's the best experience that you can create just because of the 2-way interaction, which you can get on the stream now, right? But just so different. It's such a different feeling when you've got like all of these people who are also doing the challenge with you. So what are you thinking, Melissa? Have you done a challenge before for sugar rehab? And what are some of the objections that you get to people signing up for your program? I would start there. What are some of the objections? And what's like the hurdle? Like what's the first thing that you teach them, actually? What's the first thing that you teach them? That could maybe turn into your step 0. And then you could add something onto the back end of your program. So what's the very first thing that you teach them, Melissa? What's day 1? I don't get objections, I just don't buy. What's day 1? What's day 1? So there's a missing link there, right? There's a missing link there. So let's figure out what it is. Kate says, what about creating a challenge game to find all the ways sugar hides? I was thinking that too, Kate, because it's like everything has sugar in it. It's crazy the amount of things that have sugar in it. I like that. Processing urges, okay? Processing urges. So is that something that you feel like you could turn into a step 0? Is that going to help them get ready for the rest of whatever it is that you teach them? Wait for your answer there. It gives too much. Okay. So how have you sold it before? I'm just curious. Was it just like, hey, here's a 10-day thing on quitting sugar? Or did you have like a master class or a PDF or like what, how have you sold it before? What was your previous thing? All right, and anybody else that wants to chime in with their, or let me know. Cameron says, objections I get are usually worthiness money. They're not used to investing in themselves in this way, which leads me back to up leveling my ideal client. Yeah, I think you need to start there, Cami. For sure. Because I always say, like, if someone can't pay us, they're not our ideal client. Even if we feel like, oh, this is my ideal client, they can't pay you, they're not. They're just not. So what topics do you talk about on the lives? And like I said too, like you guys are always going to get, there's always going to be a percentage of people who just aren't going to buy. A big percentage of people who aren't going to buy. So don't feel like by nailing this, you're going to get, 90% of people to buy, because that doesn't work either. All right, ladies. Anything else? Anything else you want to share? I'm just waiting for you guys. All right. Who that? I don't know who that is. The real reason they create sweets, unmet needs, codependency, resentment. What if the challenge was, Melissa, around like, what are you hungry for? What are you really hungry for? What are you really hungry for? And then you could tap on all of the things that you would normally do in your live stream. So are they like, what are they, like if somebody, it's, they have this addiction to the sugar, right? Because they're trying to fulfill something, right? An emotion, a need. So it's like, are you hungry for love? Are you hungry for attention? Are you hungry for understanding, or, things like that? What about something like that, Melissa? Because I think with what I'm getting now with this, Melissa, is like, you don't have to make the challenge about sugar, right? Like when you're promoting it or when you're marketing it. Like, this is a quit sugar challenge, and then I'm going to give you a quit sugar program. We could go deeper with it. And then throughout the challenge, you're like seeding like, the addiction to sugar and what it's doing in their life and why they need to kick it. Know what I mean? What could the challenge be? Journaling prompts, maybe? Yeah. Yeah, like I love my challenges that did the best were always like just a written prompt. They were always just a written, like, here's what you need to know and here's why type of thing. Those were always my best challenges. And then I would just give one little like prompt. Yours could be a journaling prompt. Journal on this, right? Come up with. I like the what are you hungry for, because I feel like it gets to the core, right? Of more than just the surface level of like, I need to quit sugar, right? Oh, I know that if I quit sugar, I'll lose weight. Well, guess what? I quit sugar in 2016, 2017. 2016, I quit sugar for 30 days and I lost 20 pounds, and something happened and I went to the Wawa. I'm talking about the Wawa again because we talked about that on one of our calls. I went to the Wawa and I got a lemon pie and a Pepsi, and it was the best thing on earth. It was the most amazing thing on earth. And then I gained my 20 pounds back plus another 20 pounds. So I think by getting like I know that this is what your program does, but I think that by even creating that awareness around what it is And like, this is why you actually need to learn properly how to detox your body from sugar and how to completely overcome it for good. Make sense? Melissa says, thank you. This is more aligned with the work I do. Okay, so let's do that. I'm glad that we got that for you. Cami says, the sweet solution challenge. Why are there any alternatives that they can use instead of eating sweets? But the core problem would still need to be fixed, right? It's like you don't want to trade one addiction for another. I don't know. All right, guys. If you guys don't have anything else, we will wrap it up. And if you're watching the replay, play along, of course. Post your stuff in the group if you want to get feedback from us as you start to think about like what your challenge is going to be. Remember, this can also be a masterclass. So if you don't want to do a challenge, if you don't want to do the whole 5-day thing or 3-day thing, and you're like, I could actually teach this in a masterclass or in a 3-day, live stream series, that's also an event. So you can do that for that as well. What are you hungry for? Is the name of a book by Deepak Chopra. I love it. I'd sign up for it. All right, guys. So I'm gonna go. This was awesome. This was great. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with. And remember, we got to make it enticing, or else people aren't gonna want to sign up for it. So we got to make it good. Got to make it enticing. Got to have excitement around it. And this my favorite list builder. My favorite audience builder, because people actually get to see your personality. They actually get to see who you are. They actually get to see how you work. They actually get to see your expertise. So it's just like, yeah, if you did these often, you're going to start to build your list. Thanks for sticking with me. I got you, sister. You're welcome, Andrea. All right, guys. I'm going to go, and I will see you guys later. Actually, tomorrow is not live. Tomorrow and Friday are just going to be dropped in the group. So pay attention for that. Whenever I drop it in the group, I will email it to you guys also, and then I'll also tag you, in the post in the group so that you guys don't miss it. But we're not live tomorrow or Friday. It's just going to be dropped in the group. We'll be back live on Saturday. And I actually was looking at the schedule. I have to double check with my assistant, but I feel like the schedule's messed up for some reason, because I have Saturday as day 9, and I don't see anything on Sunday for day 10, which would have been our 10 days. And then we have a couple Q&As next week. So I think what I may do is, Sunday will be our day 10, but I'm going to push the Q&A back so that you guys have time to actually start to implement some of this and start to create your visibility plan and all of that. So there may be some changes to the times for the Q&As just because something's up with the calendar. So I just want to make sure that you guys are getting the most out of this, that you're getting able to ask me the questions as you actually start to implement this stuff. So just be aware of that. But tomorrow and Friday, the lessons will be just dropped into the group. And they'll be a little lighter, but again, just new ideas. More tools for your tool belt, okay? So remember, you don't have to do all of these. I want you to pick the one that just you resonate with. You're like, I'm totally down with this strategy. I want to go all in with this. I know that this is going to help. I know that this, is going to, I'm able to leverage my strengths with this type of strategy. And then you got a whole arsenal. You got a whole arsenal for years and years and years to come. Alrighty, my dears, my ladies, I love you. I will see you in a couple days, and then you will get day 7 dropped tomorrow. Ciao.